Alright, action RPG players, let's hop into it. Titan Quest 2 just came out with their little demo, and it was quite fun. And while I was playing, a lot of people wanted to know, is this game worth your time? Is it worth checking out? And the answer to this is absolutely, especially since it is free. If you guys like games like Diablo, Path of Exile, this is sort of in the same genre. In fact, they have a previous game called Titan Quest 1, which was a pretty cool action RPG back when it released. So for starters, I want to go ahead and answer a bunch of the questions. So for the start over here, I'm gonna go ahead and go over like the character customization. You just go ahead and pick like your body type, and then you just select whatever preset that you like, and that's it. There's no like sliders for your character, but in terms of customization, there are classes, but it's kind of interesting how they do it, and we'll talk about kind of how like the class system works in a moment here. So how it works is when you do level up, you get these things called attributes, and then there's also something called mastery. So think of it like stat points, and then you have like your skill points. It's actually really cool. So there's several different things that you could kind of build into, and these are similar to your action RPG like stat requirements. If you guys have ever played Diablo, think of it like, you know, strength, dexterity, int. It's kind of like your requirement, or like back in Diablo 1 days, it's called Maj. But basically, you require a certain amount of stats to use certain items, and this is going to kind of also change up your character. Whereas the middle one, the Vigor, is going to give you HP. But this is kind of just like some stats. It's kind of like a numerical thing. Not what I would consider super interesting. What is interesting, though, is their class system. So there's 3 classes, if you will, at the start, and then you get to pick another subclass. So they are going to be adding more, but this is currently what we have in the playtest here. So there's Earth, Storm, and Warfare. So think of it kind of like well, it's like an Earth caster, then there's like a Storm caster, and then there's like kind of like melee. And that also kind of ties into some of the bow attacks. So it's kind of like physical, if you will. That's kind of the best way to go ahead and put it. But in terms of itemization, it's kind of the stuff that you normally see with action RPGs. There's white items, there's blue items, and there are yellow items. Yellow items are kind of like the top tier. I didn't get any uniques or like legendaries to get like special abilities or anything, but you can see like the itemization over here. It does strike damage and pierce damage. So you have like different damage types, and then there's like 2% added base weapon critical hit chance, and then there's like the mods and the weapons where we have extra crit, attack speed, weapon damage. So again, stuff that you would kind of expect in action RPGs. Nothing that was blowing my mind. In fact, the thing that was actually really cool is actually kind of the class system, because again, you get to select 2 of them. Well, at least in the demo, you got to select 2. So you can play basically 2 classes. So how it works is you kind of have like your class skill tree. This one is the Earth. You can see the skill over here, Ring of Flame. So on activation, it gives you X, Y, and Z, and then a Ring of Flame will spawn around you. Some of them are actives, some of them are just going to be passives, and how it kind of works is you have to kind of build up into it. So you start off with 0, I believe it's called Divinity, and you have to get like points, and it requires you to progress to a certain point. You're only allowed to get to the very first tier of it, so you can get to basically the second area of the skill tree. It works from the bottom up, but yeah, if you put more skill points into the skills, it's actually really cool. So how it works is you're going to get more modifiers depending on how many skill points that you put in. So for example, this skill fissure over here, it has all the tags too. So if you have like an item that does special things on spells or attacks or whatever, it has the tags. Think of it kind of like in PoE, they have like tags, or if you've played lots of different video games, Undecember, there's all these like skill tags. Diablo even has like these skill tags: core skill, mastery skill, right? So this is where this would go in, and you can see all of the damage. It'll show how much energy or mana that it would cost, and then you have the stats on it, and then it says that it splits the ground. So that's the effect of it, right? But then you also happen to have these other things called modifiers. So how it works is every threshold, so if I had like 2 points right here, I would unlock the next little node. The next node would then allow me to select 2 available modifiers. So this one on spikes, we have the damage converted to pierce damage. If you have everything that does bonus to pierce, then you would invest into that. And then there's other things where it can maybe do double damage, or it could maybe activate a second time. There's like a lot of these different modifiers. Think of these kind of like support gems, but they're not really all the same. This kind of makes the game feel more interesting. This is where I would say I like the idea and design of this game in terms of like what you can do, because you can put multiple points. You can see it says 0 out of 3 right now. You can put multiple points into it, and then it could be even stronger. But you can see the main skill that I have actually played over here was actually called the Call Lightning. This skill was amazing. So what we have as far as modifiers, because I have 11 points into it, this was my skill for the gameplay here. I also did technically play through the game 2 times, and if you guys want to check out like the full playthrough walkthrough, and you can see everything that the game has to offer, as I did beat it 2 times, which means I did enjoy the game. But anyways, you can see this Call Lightning, all the tags here, and then I have this modifier. So eventually what I got to. You can see right now it repeats 2 times, but now I have it repeating 3 times. I also gain rage on the first hit, and then it also deals 2% more damage per rage, and then on use we gain overload, which makes us take damage. So let me see if I can zoom in over here on it. I don't know if it'll move over far enough for me to go ahead and read it. But basically what it does is it tells you what overload does. Basically, we take damage, but we basically get extra like resource cost reduction for it. And then rage gives us extra attack damage and attack speed. And then exhaust gives us reduced energy. But basically, you have all the tags over there. But now that I got some of these out of the way, I want to kind of do this part rapid fire real quick, and you guys get to also see the boss over here. Let me go and actually fast forward to the boss. The demo is pretty short, by the way, if anyone wants to play the demo. There is a really cool boss at the very end that you can defeat, and then it kind of just wraps up. So I want to show you guys how the bosses are, because they are quite challenging. The game is kind of hard, and I'll go over like a bunch of like kind of bullet points rapid fire for like kind of numerical scores for the game, as this is going to be a review of the demo, as I want this game to be successful, so I want to give it as much feedback as possible. So I think I'm doing maybe some respecs here before we fight the boss, because it was kind of challenging. I ain't gonna lie, I downed the boss the first time, and I was like, dude, this is insane. So later on, though, we did big DPS, because I completely swapped my build. I removed all my skills, and I removed all the points out of them, slammed them all in the Call Lightning, and made it cast like a bunch of different times. We actually had to dodge, so if you like challenging boss fights, this game will definitely deliver it. Well, at least on the first boss, it was good. But the game is quite challenging. It's not going to be a super cakewalk, so if it is your very first action RPG, it can be quite challenging. For sure. You can see I'm spamming the potions over there. And then you also had like this little berry that you can get. I think, did we rip on this one? Yeah, like I said, the game is quite challenging, but wait, did we take it down that time? All right. So, okay, here it is. I went in again, and you can see the DPS after I guess I did some more modifications. The DPS was really big on this build. I mean, look how much damage I'm doing to the boss. I was just thinking about like, okay, let me just see if we can face tank it, and eventually we got the build up. So if you do get stuck in the game, though, I want to say right now in early access, there's not like a bunch of other things that you can do, so it's maybe a get good sort of a game. So if you are having troubles with the game in terms of difficulty, it isn't going to be, again, a cakewalk. And you also have like the stagger bar that you can like build up. You can see like over on the bottom. It's actually like the boss's mana, but you see this time we absolutely rolled it. I basically face tanked, and it's because I had the lightning do much more. You see a bunch of loot came out. Unfortunately, no like legendaries, and I've been playing this game. I played through it 2 different times, and I got no like legendaries, but there are kind of like secrets and little puzzles. If you go behind certain areas, there's kind of some kind of platforming. You don't really have to time your jump. You just go to the edge and you hit jump, and it automatically does it. There's also this area where like this boss kind of chases you. But I'm going to go over some numerical scores now for the game, and I'll also give you guys different gameplay of like the bow character. So we also made a bow character. This is, again, earlier on. By the way, the demo is about an hour long, but I want to go ahead and give you guys all of the like numerical scores real quick. So because it's a video game review, and I feel like without the scores or numbers or something to kind of gauge where these points are, it's kind of hard to say, is the game good? But to answer you guys, I think the game is cool. It's got a lot of potential, but you know, a lot of people just say that with like games in early access. But I still think it's good enough to where like if I spent, well, it's really short, but like if this was like, if there was more content and they were charging for it, I would be okay with it, because I think the game is good enough. All right, so first off, as far as graphics goes, it's nothing super blowing my mind. I'm gonna say like, it's like PS4 sort of graphics, but it still gets the job done. I don't really mind it. In fact, anything after Xbox 360 is like totally fine for me in terms of graphics, because I care about gameplay. Heck, you can give me Diablo 2 graphics, as long as the game is good, that's all I care about. Anyways, who's the game for in terms of like the audience? It is definitely for like, I would say adults, maybe some teens over here, but for the most part, it's not like a meme sort of a game. It's not like a Borderlands where they have like, you know, comedic relief or anything like that. But as far as the gameplay field, I want to say it is okay. I would say it's in between okay and like good for the game. So if you're wondering, does it have that visceral combat that PoE 2 and Diablo 4 do better than any other action RPG? I'm talking about the feel, the weight of the hits. It's not quite there yet, but it's not like terrible. It doesn't feel like your like attacks are weightless. I would say, because we're comparing, you know, action RPGs here. If you guys have played Dragonkin, I would say that Last Epoch and this game feel sort of similar. Dragonkin would be a little bit under in terms of the way the game feels. That is the critical thing that Diablo 4 and Path of Exile 2 do better than any action RPG. It is the way that the game feels. So I would say it's in between okay and just passable and like good for the genre. Because it is an early access, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. If they can make it feel a little bit weighty and punchier, then it's going to be pretty solid. And like I mentioned before, I think I'd still recommend the game. It's a good solid like 7 or 8 for a demo here. But as far as audio goes, I would say it works when it does work, because there are some areas where I feel like it's kind of lacking audio, but it's not like I want to listen to the OST like we're listening to the Diablo 2 OST in the background right now. But it definitely does the job for the genre over here. As far as the gameplay depth customization, which is one of the most critical things in action RPGs, my favorite part of the game is being able to tweak these builds. I don't know what the legendaries or uniques do. If they have some cool ones, then I would still say that it's a good amount of options for builds, because again, you have all these other, you get two, basically making two classes in one, and then you have one benefit, one thing working with another. I like it. It's a really cool amount of options. If they add a lot more uniques in the game that can modify certain things, I'm hoping that we can get crazy amounts of options. But I mean, I feel like no game will ever touch PoE 1 in terms of like how many options that you have. But as far as difficulty, I would say that if you are a brand new action RPG player, the game is quite challenging. Even against like just the small trash monsters, they hit hard. If you don't use that barrier, if you don't like build your character correct, I would say if you are like really good at PoE 2, like you'll probably die a couple times. It's just inevitable in these sort of games that you're gonna have to learn. These bosses are quite challenging, but I think you can play without a guide. You'll probably die a couple times, but it's fine. But I think if you're like Diablo 4 is too hard, like if you haven't cleared out like a pit 150 or like a pit 100 plus, then you're going to definitely need to look up guides on YouTube. It will be challenging, and you will definitely want to play ranged, as melee, just like any other action RPG, man, they're always like squishy. They're tankier in the sense where they have more HP, but like because you have to face tank most of the stuff, especially on bosses and stuff, it's just going to be something where I would probably recommend you guys to play a ranged build, a caster, or something with like the bow. As far as the grind goes, at least in the early access demo here that we had, I didn't find it like I had to go backtrack and stuff. You did have the ability to go back, use your portal, and then like maybe go back to the vendor and purchase some items, but it wasn't really needed. I mean, this is like a 1 hour demo. If they added grind to it, I'd feel pretty disappointed. But as far as the story, it's like, okay, it wasn't something super special. Again, it's not a Deus Ex, which is what I say every single time, but that's my grading scale. If it's Deus Ex, it's amazing. If it's just okay, nothing special, it gets the job done. There's NPCs, there is dialogue here, and it's okay. But keep in mind, it's like a demo. I don't expect the demo to have crazy good stories, but there have been back in the day when you used to get those demos that would come in magazines of video games. Sometimes you would have like a good story that would hook you in, and then that would make you want to continuously play. But like it was like whatever. As far as the game time goes, it was literally 1 hour. But remember, this is like a free demo, so for me, I can't. It was like a, well, for me, it was like I played it 2 times and then I was done. So I'm going to mark it like here. But again, this is a demo. So like, it's kind of hard to give it like, how much game time can you get out of the demo? Well, you can play every single class and you can mix and match a bunch of different times. But I would say for most people, they're going to play the demo once or twice, and then that's it. It's only 1 hour. I played through it multiple times. So it gets a double thumbs up in terms of game time. They didn't waste your time, because I hate when video games do that. It's one of my pet peeves. And then the price, well, it's free. So like, it is absolutely worth your time, especially if it's free. And like I said, if you like action RPGs and want some sort of challenge, and I think the game is definitely worth checking out. As far as bugs, some people had graphics issues. I'm on a 3090 and I had no issues with the game running. Didn't have any like crashes or anything. So I'll give it a 0 for bugs, which is good. That's what you want. So yeah, no bugs in the game. And then like, what would I give it out of a 10? For a demo, I want to give it like a 7 or 8. It is really good. If they can get that punchiness there, like PoE 2 for an early access game, man, that game is probably one of the best early access games I've ever played. That is a 9 or 10 easy, right? If we're giving it a scale, I feel like the game is really, really solid. The one thing that's separating it is specifically that punchiness. If they can get that punchiness, this is an easy 8 for me. But again, I would say that I need to see the uniques. I want to see their creativity shine through a lot more things in the game before giving it anything higher, because I think that is really what sets action RPGs apart, is specifically like how many builds can you kind of get out of the game. But maybe this game isn't really going to be meant as a games as a service. I still don't even know the release date, but they've been advertising the game, so my assumption is, I don't know, by the way, this isn't any secret info, I'm thinking the game may launch relatively soon with some sort of early access. I don't know about a release date, but they usually release these like maybe a couple months ahead, so I'm hoping maybe in summer we can get a release. But I'll definitely be looking forward to this game. If you guys have played this game, definitely let me know your thoughts down below. And also, if you're playing, check the map. There's a lot of hidden secrets behind like trees, and like there's little like gate levers that you'll have to pull down, then you can get a secret chest. Honestly, the chest loot sometimes is mid, but it's still cool that they add these little secrets, because I like games like this. If you guys have ever played games like Dark Messiah, Might and Magic, or any of the old school first-person shooter games like Duke Nukem, it kind of reminded me of that, where like they would kind of hide things things in the game, and I like that. That's really cool. So hopefully we can get more of this game, but one thing that I want to mention is that for a while, it is a little bit of a slog in the earlier states of the game because, like, you don't have a bunch of skill points, and you want to slam everything into, like, one skill, so that one skill is really good, but it would be kind of cool if they would just innately, as you leveled up, gave you all of the base skills. So you would level up and you would get to push all of the skills, because to respec, it does require gold. Now, if you want to remove the points into the skill, that will also cost gold. But if you want to move around the little, like, nodes that you would get, which are the ones where if you put more points into it, the modifiers, you can freely swap these. I think, especially for a demo, and on top of that, they should put a grace period, like, up until level 50, you can respec all the way for free, because you want your players to be encouraged to try new things, because maybe they're using a skill that they're like, I'm just kind of playing the game, but then they find a skill that they really like, because that little ice shards compared to the lightning bolt skill that I was using, oh man, night and day difference in terms of DPS. We're taking like 10 times the amount of DPS. So obviously balance and stuff will be something that people will have to figure out, but for an early access free demo, highly can recommend the game for sure. But it is, in my personal opinion, because this was a question I was asked, is it better than Diablo? Is it better than PoE? It's not there yet, man. It is not there because of the punchiness. And keep in mind, guys, it's a free demo, so definitely could recommend. You can see, like, I opened up this and there's like a secret little, like, wall here that was cool, and there's a little chest. So yeah, I like that a lot. And like I said, I will definitely be covering this game on my channel, and if you guys will play the game, what do you guys think of it? What would you guys rate it out of a 10 if you have played it? But yeah, that is the Diablo-like Titan Quest. I always have to put Diablo-like because people are wondering, you know, is this closer to Diablo or PoE? Honestly, I also want to say that it is kind of in between. I would say it's easier than Path of Exile, but definitely harder than Diablo in terms of, like, game difficulty and complexity and stuff like that. But anyways, that's to wrap things up. If you guys enjoyed it, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit subscribe, turn the bell. I'm always playing some new games, so subscribe and you'll definitely see them. But yeah, it is something that you can request access on Steam and you randomly can get in, or just go to Epic Games and then you pretty much guaranteed get in as long as you just request access to it. But anyways, take care and I'll catch you gamers in the next video. Peace out.